Hello sword friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Brittany. Today I'm going to be talking about infinity gloves. Yes, they are 5-finger gloves made by Sparring Gloves, which is actually the brand name if you were unfamiliar. And these are articulated gloves for historical European martial arts. These are not a custom size, they are actually an extra small size glove that Sparring Glove offers. And the cool thing about these is they actually fit my tiny little hands. Sort of. So as you can see, I'm actually missing the little string that attaches them here, but no big deal. The cuff is actually really large. You can see how much space I have, but the glove actually fits pretty snug here on the inside. There's not a whole lot of room, and my fingers actually go right to the very ends, so I can't really worry about my fingers slipping out. They go right to the ends, and these actually fit decently well. However, just because the glove is actually shorter for my fingers doesn't actually mean that it's smaller all over. One of the problems that I have is actually how wide these fingers actually are. So when I put my hands in the gloves, instead of my hand being able to close like this, it ends up sort of closing like this. And it's also like holding an orange, which is kind of weird. Kind of like this. I'm not really super comfortable sword fighting as if my hilt was an orange, but you know, you make do. Some of the interesting features about this glove is the amount of mobility that there is in the thumb. So I'm able to move my thumb side to side because this plate is actually only connected with one rivet here. So I have a lot of movement in the thumb. As you can see, if I just put them on again here, I can actually make little circles with my thumb quite comfortably. Now this is great for folks who actually want to do grip switching and doing like thumb grips on their longsword, for example, or their single hand swords as well. So I really do like that mobility of the thumb. However, what I'm not a huge fan of is when I go to close the hand, again, I talked about the fingers being really wide compared to my actual hand size. You can see I'm sort of not really able to close my hand fully without overlapping the fingers themselves like that. One of the design flaws that I found with this glove is the gap that exists in between the fingers here. Now, normally you would think that if the glove fits properly and the hand closes, it'll close that gap out entirely. However, because these are actually just really thick fingers, compared to my own fingers, that fist that I'm making ends up leaving quite a bit of space here. And the last thing that I want is the tip of a sword to sneak in between my fingers, hit nothing but bare glove underneath here, and end up stabbing me right there. So I actually am really nervous about that, since the underglove beneath here looks like it's just a normal, maybe like a mechanic's glove or something. Like it's not really like super protective. The other concern that I have is how much these are actually able to twist. Like that. That kind of movement doesn't really give me a lot of peace of mind, not because my fingers obviously don't move that way, but what I did notice is when I was doing grip switches, sometimes this would get caught on the crossguard or part of the hilt, and it would turn, and now even though my finger is small enough that it can move individually, where the plate can move over my finger without my finger actually moving, it meant that I had this exposure right here. Right? So again, my finger can stay stationary underneath the glove because it's a little bit bigger than my hand, and it can move independently. The fact that they actually make these in really small sizes was very promising. I think that if I could actually close my hand fully and properly, if these were sized down a little bit, I probably would really like these gloves. But again, the risk factor of a 5-finger glove is something that has always concerned me, and I still haven't really switched away from something like Spez Heavies, which have full plates to help disperse the force. I don't feel the Infinity Glove is beginner friendly. The reason I think that is anytime you have a 5-finger glove where each finger is individually plated as opposed to having one solid plate across the hand. I think that that's actually more dangerous or a little bit more risky, especially for newer folks who are still learning how to defend and protect their hands. So if you're just starting out, I wouldn't really recommend these, only because you want to be able to fail and learn and not end up breaking your hand in the process. I have my fetter here, and when I go to grab it, oh my goodness, I feel like this really just isn't any better than the limited mobility I have with my Spez Heavies. They're probably just as wide on my hand, so they fill the entire hilt anyway. And again, you can see, my goodness, my fingers are starting to overlap again here in a way that's not really natural to my grip. My fingers locked together like that. One of the problems is that it gets caught here. So if I go, oh, there we go. Going from here, if I end up sneaking my hand up just a little bit and the cross guard gets caught in between, it catches on this plate, and I actually managed to kind of open that up at one point, and again, it was just another failure that I was a little bit concerned about. There it is. There it is. So unfortunately, even though these are closer to my size in terms of length of my fingers, these just didn't do it for me. And I really wish they did. I've kind of been on the hunt for gloves for a really long time that would fit my tiny little hands, but I still haven't found them. I'm not gonna say outright that these are the worst gloves in the world. They're not, but I'm not going to advocate for them for new folks or anybody who really can't risk their hands. Like, don't take the risk. But if you're one of those folks who, you know, is really good at protecting your hand, or you have a ring hilt maybe on your long sword, or you're just doing lighter sparring, these might be not a bad choice for you. And they do come in a range of sizes. However, again, just keep in mind when you're going with articulated or 5-finger gloves like these, you really limit the amount of protection that they afford you, and you are taking a very large risk with your hands. I did actually get a chance to spar with these a little bit, and it made my hands cramp, which was not fun. Just trying to coordinate how to close my fingers without those weird overlaps and stuff, and the plates getting caught, and I felt like I was fighting the gloves more than I was fighting my partner. So you can enjoy some of the footage of me sparring in the Infinity gloves.
Just men have, you know, we have differently shaped thighs compared to like the company that is like, oh yeah, this one tops out the idea of make this side a little wider. Let's make this panel a little skinnier. That's the new thing, skinny, form fitted. So it's like there's so many different things there. There's all sort of stuff. Just don't wear it. No, just like linen loincloths. Loincloths. Oh yeah.
Thank you.